Hello. Hi. Good morning. I actually didn't know this was happening, so I've got no makeup on. Do apologise. Thanks. That's a relief.
Well, hello. I'm Laurie Majewski, author of Mad World, an oral history of new wave songs and artists that defined the 1980s. And this band that I'm here to talk to today, their look and their sound is synonymous with that decade, but their songs are timeless. Songs like, Do You Really Want to Hurt Me? Karma Chameleon, #1 hit. And my favorite, Time Clock of the Heart. Oh. So let me introduce them one by one. We have Roy Hay.
Good morning.
Yay!
Thank you.
Mikey Craig.
Good morning.
John Moss.
Afternoon.
Hi, everyone. Oh, it's working. Hi. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Good, okay.
And you may know this guy, Boy George.
Hi, how are you?
Well, welcome, guys. You're in the middle of your first U.S. tour in quite some time, and the reviews are incredible. Critics are saying that it's a joyous show, an enthralling show, that the band is revitalized. I mean, it's so wonderful to have you guys back here.
It's
What's
all
it
lies,
like?
absolute lies.
What's it like? Roy, how is it out there on stage?
I've got to say, it's been really thrilling, a lot of fun. And the reviews have been spectacular. I mean, we really wanted to come out and just play our music and sort of re-establish ourselves a little bit with the public, and just this response has been amazing. Amazing.
Well, I mean, are you surprised at all? Because you have been away for a while, right, John?
Well, no, we're not surprised. The band's always been very, very popular. The great thing at the moment is the band's more like an orchestra, and that's what's so wonderful. You know, a lot of people expect us to come out and do it, you know, in a cheap and cheerful way, if you like, but we've got a full, proper band, and it's really exciting playing. And we've got 15 people on stage.
15
we
people?
have 15 people on stage, yeah. And this was George's idea. I actually wanted to make it smaller, but George said, no, we've got to do it properly, and he was absolutely right.
Most of those are hairdressers and stylists, though.
Well, they are. I mean, there are a lot of there's a couple of people on social that I don't know if you know Happy Mondays are like our Bezzes, but it seems to work, so.
Well, tonight you're playing the Beacon Theater here in New York City. Is anyone going to that? I am. I'm so excited. Tomorrow night as well. And you're coming off of a huge show out in Los Angeles. The video of Jack Black on stage doing Starman with you guys went viral. I know you're a huge Bowie fan. How did you get Jack Black to do that? Did you have to teach him the words, or is he a fan too?
I think he learned just before the show.
Just before the show, he came into the dressing room, and he was dead nervous. He didn't want to do it at all. He said, "No, I can't go on. I can't do it." So we wrote the words out to the chorus of Starman for him. He learnt it quickly, and then at the end of the show, he jumped on, and it was as though he owned the stage. You know, he was just fluttering around the place.
He definitely channeled a bit of
he
channeled a rock star, didn't he?
He actually kissed me in front of 5,000 people, which was.
And that was just in the audience. Everyone else saw it too on the internet.
You know, I think I did a thing with Jack on the Conan show. We did a cover of Doors' song. And originally my idea was to have Jack Black come through the audience in a spacesuit, like with his head covered, and then kind of come on stage, but that didn't happen. In fact, he wasn't going to do the Greek. But I think when he got there, he decided that he wanted to be part of it, and he luckily brought a little kimono with him, so that was quite nice. I was quite happy about the kimono.
Oh, it was such a great performance. And of course, you had another special guest there, Caitlyn Jenner, introduced the band. I mean, and she said that it was her first ever Culture Club show. First of all, I can't believe that. But, you know, I guess her first as Caitlyn Jenner. But have you guys been old friends? How did that come to happen?
No, I mean, obviously, I've been watching, you know, sort of her transition for the last year. And, you know, I just feel like with what's going on in America right now, it's quite a timely time for us to be here. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. You know, with the Supreme Court ruling, you know, all the things that are going on over here for the kind of LGBT community, you know, I just wanted I had a stupid idea to ask her to introduce the show about a week before it happened, and I was like, it's never going to happen. And luckily it did happen, and it was just a gorgeous moment. She got a standing ovation. Just for me personally, obviously I'm the gay in the band, and I just wanted our universes to kind of collide. You know, I thought it was just a lovely moment. I knew that people would stand up, and it was just a bit of gorgeousness really to sort of sprinkle on the show. You know,
she's a big girl. I was like, whoa, hey, Caitlyn. That's a big hand.
She looks fantastic for 65, too. I'm like, oh, my gosh. It is a really fantastic time for you guys to be here. I mean, since it's been a while, like, do you feel the change in the air? Do you feel America's different?
Yeah, I think, obviously there's work to be done. I mean, the world, there's lots of things that still need to be fixed, but I think it's important to celebrate the things that are changing. You can get really cynical and say everything isn't the way we want it to be, therefore it's not worth celebrating. But I think there are some great things happening, and I think it's important to embrace that and celebrate that, and then hopefully fix the other things that need fixing too.
And I think actually part of our legacy is I think, as Culture Club, if you grew up with the Culture Club poster on your wall when you were younger, subliminally, I think that had an effect on you. This sort of mix, not just the way we look, but the music and everything. And I do believe that attitude, maybe we had just a little bit to do with something.
Yeah,
maybe
we paved the way for the Caitlyns of this world to come through, perhaps,
I'll tell one thing that's very different. I've been to the States on and off over the last 20 years, but especially if you go, the outer rims like LA and New York, it's definitely more European here. But I also think as an Englishman, we've been subject to so much more American culture in Europe that it doesn't seem so alien when you come here.
Yeah, there's no
So it's definitely, with the globalization, you definitely feel much more at home when you come to the States now. It's one step in Europe, one step in America.
It's like being in London here right now.
It is like being in London, actually. It's quite strange. There are probably more Americans in London, actually, than there are in New York. So.
Well, I mean, I am one of those girls who had a Culture Club poster on my wall, and I remember how mind-blowing it was when George, you were on the cover of Newsweek magazine in your dress, and Annie Lennox was there, in her drag, and I really do think that growing up in that sort of environment has made me a much more accepting person. So thank you guys for not just the fantastic music, but for everything that you've done for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that like a warm-up comedian or something before we came on?
You couldn't have got away with that dress 20 years ago, darling.
I was probably dressing like him.
I've had a few of those.
Well, these are rescheduled dates because I know that, George, you had some vocal problems and you had to cancel those dates, and we were very disappointed, but we're so glad you're here now. How are you doing? How did it go?
Good. I worked very hard with an amazing vocal coach in the UK, and although I'm choking right now, too much coffee. I've just done a lot of work. I think that pop singers, unlike kind of say classical singers, most of us are quite untrained, so you can get away with a lot when you're young. You can kind of abuse yourself and you get away with it, but as you get a little bit older, it becomes a little bit more difficult to do that. So I've kind of developed some new, skills. If you see me playing over the years, you'll see that I kind of stand differently. I breathe a lot more. I've just learned to sort of protect my voice a bit more, and learn some new tricks. It's amazing that you as a vocalist, you keep learning stuff. My vocal coach said to me, it doesn't really matter what you've done before, good, bad, or indifferent. It only matters where you go from here and what you can develop. So I'm quite excited about what I'm doing right now vocally, and I've got a different voice. It's a travelled voice. I've been around the block. What's the line in Move Away? I'm prepared to wear my sorrow everywhere we go in town. I think that that's sort of in my voice now. There's certain songs, for example, like Victims, which I feel like I now live in, as a song. It's a song that I can own vocally. It's a different type of song, because I understand what it means. When I wrote it, years ago, I didn't really have that much experience, whereas now I think I do, so helps.
He's being very disciplined now, and the doctor told him not to talk. That one didn't work.
So I'm actually not going to answer any more questions.
Well, let's talk about the new record. I know you've been working on it for a while. It's coming in 2016. And
Oh, yeah.
what I've heard online... What I've heard online, and I hear you're doing a lot of it live, so I can't wait to hear it tonight, your voice does sound amazing, and you guys sound a bit like a different band. I mean, there are a lot of bands from your area, some of your contemporaries, that you kind of hear the same thing. You know, was that intentional? Did you get into the studio and say, you know, where are we now?
I think that I'll answer this and you can carry it on. I mean, I think that you can only be who you are now, you know. I think we sound, first of all, you know, we came from that kind of period of the 80s where there was a lot of electro music. We weren't electro band. You know, we weren't, I love the Human League, Mark Almond, you know, all of that, but that's not what our sound was. We were kind of put in that category with Depeche Mode and all of those bands, but we had a kind of world music sound. So for us, it allows us to really kind of stretch what we do musically. You know, we don't really have a defined sound. I would say that we try to write good songs. And on this record, I feel like we're really wearing our influences on our sleeves. I mean, I was kind of playing stuff in the studio that I loved when I was growing up. You know, old Roxy music, Bowie, obviously, and things. You know, and there's kind of hints at Sly Stone. You know, there's stuff that's a bit Johnny Cash. All the things that I think we all love and sort of grew up with. We kind of threw them all into a pot.
Yeah,
and,
but you can call it by accident or design. We sort of bring different things to the party. I mean, John came from quite a punk background. I came from a more sort of reggae and R&B type of background, and Roy maybe from a more neuromantic-y kind of thing, let's say. So we bring various different things to the party, and that's what makes Culture Club, and that's what makes it great, I think.
Yeah, I think the main thing about Culture Club when we started, we were very eclectic musically. That's why I like the band so much, because, you know, when I was in bands, it was like you in a heavy metal band. I go, I don't know, you know, anything. And that was the wonder of Culture Club. It was eclectic musically. And I think the problem we had about 5 years ago is how to maintain that eclecticism within the band, because we were all stuck in some musical genre somewhere. And all of a sudden, we discovered a new eclecticism, if that makes sense. And therefore, you know, and that's quite an achievement after 30 years.
But the new material is very much us. It's because we were allowed to be a band again.
Yeah, that's
by
what I was
our
gonna say.
producer, Youth, got us together, and he just said, "Look, sit down with your instruments, forget the technology. Let's just bash out some songs." And that's what we did.
We really went back to the real moment that we used to have. We went back into
No machines.
Exactly.
No machines.
No
just a
machines.
guitar,
Real people
a
playing
guitar.
instruments.
Yeah, it was just guitar, bass, John bashing his legs, George singing.
I think
and
in the
we
beginning,
just
though,
wrote
you know,
songs.
we all probably wanted to be in totally different bands. I mean, I wanted to be in Susie and the Banshees, you know, and sort of...
Well, you wanted to be in Led Zeppelin.
I was trying to join Adam and the Ants.
What
at
can
the
I
time.
say?
And I wanted to be in Led Zeppelin, so, you know, there you go.
No, but I think that, you know, one of the things that we used to do early on is when we used to sort of turn up to these kind of band meetings of sort of different records, like we'd bring 5 records that we liked. And, you know, the records were so diverse, you know.
Yeah.
I remember John bringing, like, an Iron Butterfly album and, you know...
And you stole my version.
Private Number by William Bell.
Judy Clare,
William Bell.
Baby, baby, baby.
Yeah, and that sort of thing. So it was a real mix. You know, I bought Bowie. So I think in the beginning, we just didn't... You know, we all had a really different idea about what the band was going to be. And when you start like that and you start playing, it just became something else. And I don't even know how to describe what we turned into, but it kind of worked, you know?
And I think if you listen to our records, if you actually took George's voice off and played Do You Wanna Hurt Me and Karma Chameleon, you would think they were different bands, right? George's has this uniting factor with his voice and his lyrics, so that does enable us to
Finally,
go
you
anywhere.
admit it publicly.
George, you're a nice bunch of guys. That's the thing, you know?
But in the new, when we play this set, though, you'll hear it tonight. It's amazing. We didn't really design it as such, but the new songs just kind of fit in. And they're such Culture Club songs. By the second chorus, although people haven't heard them, you'll see people singing along. And I think also we hadn't done anything for so long. We'd all kind of done everything we wanted to do in music with different areas. And we came back together, and we're all so excited to be together, so inspired by each other again, and had so much to say again. You know, I think we got really into the third album syndrome as a band. So what are we going to write about now? You know, and that carried on for a couple of albums. Then we didn't do anything. And so now we've got all these ideas again, and it's nice, you know, we get to write about, you know, was telling George a story about Sly Stone when I got to work with him, and he went and researched it, and we came back, and then Mikey came up with this bass line. Next thing we have a song about Sly Stone, which is really fucking cool, and it's great, you know.
Well, it's not strictly about Sly Stone, but it's kind of that sound.
Yeah, but it's influenced by it.
It's influenced by that, you know. Obviously, you know, because Sly Stone's one of my all-time favorite singers. You know, he's the only person who's ever written a song with no chorus. If You Want Me to Stay actually has no chorus. It's a genius piece of music. I mean, only he could do that. You know, it's just a bass line, and it actually never changes. It's amazing.
Well, it's so exciting to hear how jazzed you are about the new music. One of the questions I wanted to ask was about how you feel when you play the hits these days, because a lot of the artists I interviewed for my book Mad World, they felt strangled by their greatest hits for a while in the middle, right? And then they come back.
Ask George
Do you realize now?
Well, I haven't played them for so long, so like to me it's exciting. I've been DJing for the last 25 years, so I haven't been in, you know. I mean, I suppose one of the luxuries of, you know, one of the luxuries of not being together is that, you know, you come back to the music with a kind of great attitude. But also, you know, over the years, obviously, I've played those songs with my own band. And when I play them with Culture Club, obviously, they're a bit more like the originals. You know, we go back to how we originally did them. And for me, it just, you know, it feels fresh. I mean, I don't ever go on stage and feel, you know, oh, I've got to sing that song again. You know, I just try and put my heart and soul into it every time I do it. You know, the show's the show. The show is kind of sacred in a way. And I think you know, when I was younger, man, you know, if I was in a bad mood, I took it on stage with me. I mean, if I was in a bad mood, you're all going to get it. But luckily now, I take a different approach, you know, because, well, first of all, I'm always...
Now we get it.
I'm never really in a bad mood, you know, I don't really do bad moods anymore. So, and if I do, they don't last very long. So I go on stage with the right attitude, you know, I kind of enjoy what I do. I do feel kind of blessed to do what I do. You know, it's amazing when you stop and think about it. You know, you get paid to do the thing you love. It's kind of ridiculous, you know.
But to be fair to the songs, they are timeless. They every time we go back to them, they still feel fresh. You know, they're not stuck in an 80s genre. I don't think they work in any decade.
I think some songs, you know, obviously, you know, there are songs that we did 30 years ago that I would never write now. You know, a lot of the earlier songs are like, oh, poor old me, everyone hates me. You know? So, you know, I'm not that person, you know. So it's sometimes quite funny to sing those songs. But then a song like Do You Really Want to Hurt Me, I think on this tour, feels like it's taken on a whole new resonance. You know, it feels like a different song. And I actually get quite emotional singing it. I don't know why. It's really bizarre, but it gets such a great reaction. And, you know, one of the other songs that's really been going down fantastically is Time Clock of the Heart. You know, people, you know, it's like, really love it, you know. So,
I tell you, George has been DJing. I've been JDing it for 20 years. Haha, that's a joke.
You've been doing what?
JDing for 20 years.
What's JDing?
Jack Daniel.
He's here all day.
I have 3 children. My oldest one's 18, and my 18-year-old came to a rehearsal. We just had to do Karma Chameleon, Do You Really? And he was sort of sitting there. I could see him thinking, God, what is this, you know? And it's quite embarrassing. But by the end, he got it. And it's really weird because my kids, I mean, my 12-year-old knows Karma Chameleon, not just of his dad. My 15-year-old is extremely cool girl who goes like whatever and doesn't actually say anything ever, right? And she loves, she loves Karma Chameleon, Do You Really? So they do seem to have gone down the ages, which is great. I mean, the songs they're sort of, what's the word? They're timeless.
They're the carbon new classics. That's what I say.
I think a lot of young kids now, you know, when we were growing up, obviously we didn't have the internet, we didn't have, you know, the access to, it's incredible because, you know, people now have access to so much. They can go online and they can just literally trace anything. And yet people aren't as, you know, they don't explore like we used to. We had to really search for things, you know. Records were, you know, they were like sacred objects. You know, you'd go to the record store and, you know, we used to have these listening booths. It was fantastic. You'd go after school and you had no money and you knew you couldn't afford anything in the record shop, but you'd go in and say, well, can I hear that Bowie record or this record?
Not sure if I like it. Can I hear it for the 15th time?
Yeah, can I hear another 10 times? And then sometimes I'd get thrown out, you know, because they were so sick of me. You know, I'd go in there and I'd see I'd literally choose a record because of the cover, you know. And, you know, kids, I was listening to jazz from the like 20s and 30s when I was like 10, 11 years old. You know, I was listening to everything, you know, because I just loved music. You know, I was just obsessed with it, you know. But I do think there are some young people who are kind of open-minded, but, you know, you tend to hear people saying, oh, it's not my era, you know.
See,
Now is always your era.
I think I don't think kids are like that today because, you know, when I was growing up, I'd say, oh, that's my parents' music, or those are the oldies. Now that they consider the 80s music party music, and I think it's because it's on the iPod next to what they're listening today. It comes up, you know, like in their random choice. So it's so cool they don't think of it as oldies, thank God.
Well, that's good.
I'm just reading, just going back to the records when we were kids, I'm just reading Keith Richards' book, and he talks about when it was just him and Mick and Brian Jones. They were in this basement flat in Chelsea, and literally all they did was play records and just try and learn them, and that was their whole lives. And that was kind of, I think we all grew up like that as well. Yeah, well, you know, my whole life was music when I was growing up. All these influences, everything from Led Zeppelin to George Benson to Steely Dan, and then we all met and we had these different influences. And I think what we found on this album was that we actually went to a studio in Spain, and it could have gone either way. We were locked in the studio basically, and we had to kind of reunite as musicians. And
it's making it sound much more dramatic than it was.
It was pretty dramatic. I mean, listen, it could have gone either way. Unfortunately, the producer was just like this guy Youth from the band Killing Joke, and he's just a great guy. And
I disagree with you, I mean, I knew we were going to make a great record. You know, I think, you know, I went there. Trust me, honey, I went to Spain with the intention of leaving with a good record. There was no doubt in my mind.
You could afford us, George.
I just made a record, you know, and I was determined to make a better record, and I think we have made a better record. You know, everything you do should be a step up.
You are a different man, George.
Sorry?
You are a different man.
I am a different man. And no, I was completely convinced that we were going to make a good record.
But one of the things
we
did there, though, he's got this amazing vinyl collection. He's got this, like, octagonal tower in this room, and it's just albums and albums.
That's not me, by the way, that's you.
That's you.
And we were just going and pulling out stuff and going, look, listen to this. And it was literally like we were kind of early days of the band where we were just listening to music.
The thing is, hi-fi didn't work very well, did it? That was only
So the producer Youth is like, if I was going to describe Youth, I mean, he's like a kind of, like a pop prophet or something. Like he sits in the corner giggling and smoking lots of weed. And in fact, on the record, there's a song called Let Somebody Love You, and we actually reference Youth. You know, the second verse says, now I'm in the wilderness, somewhere in the heart of Spain. Youth lights it up with a smile and says, sing it again. You know, I mean, the point that Roy was making was that Youth's kind of like an old-fashioned musician in the sense that, you know, it's about instruments and vibe. He's a total vibe guy. So even when we were arguing, he was laughing. He loved it. I think he liked it more when we were arguing than when we were getting on.
He did say we were the worst band he'd ever worked with at one point, didn't he?
Really?
But he meant it in a very affectionate way.
This is the man that's in a band called Killing Joke, you know, who apparently beat each other up before they go on stage. So I doubt that that's true.
It's also a man who's called Youth. Anyway.
Well, quite interesting. He's called Youth.
I can't call you
Boy,
Youth
anymore.
You know,
But it was a great. Well, the point is, it was just, we
got no minutes
We
left.
had a moment.
That means it's time to go to the audience Q&A.
Oh, okay. I just want to say one thing because I'm sorry to this. Please vote for me in the DJ Top 100 DJ Mag thing.
Yes, we also have a commercial break. Please buy our album called Tribes.
Go to the Facebook page DJ Mag. Vote for me. Get your parents to vote, even if they hate dance music, because I just want to piss off Calvin Harris and all those people by getting him top 10. I want to make Calvin cry.
Okay, so who has some questions out there? We have our first one over here.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for everything you've done for the LGBT community then and now.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Is that to Roy?
My question for each of you gentlemen is, from your vast catalog, your 6 studio albums, any song that you wish would have been released as a single that was not released?
No.
Okay.
I think Black Money. Black Money.
No. God Thank You Woman. Because we did.
What's a single?
Well, yeah, but it wasn't the best time.
I'll give you a hint. We actually play Black Money tonight. We're going to play it, and we've got an amazing Mary Pierce does Helen's part, and it brings the house down.
It's in Serbo Croat tonight, so
And
it's
it's
a
like,
surprise for you.
when we were writing it, I remember, the first night we played it in Canada on this tour, I almost teared up because it was such an emotional thing for me. And this is a song we wrote 30 years ago, and people were singing along, and then the wailing vocals come in, and I'm like, God, we wrote these chords when I was a kid, man, and it still gets people. It really was quite a moment for me, and I get that on stage still. I'm like,
As you can see, Roy's now become the most dramatic member of the band. He'll be appearing in a cape tonight. I'll have to give him my cape.
Mikey,
And a wind machine.
single that we haven't released?
Not really. Black Money. I would go along with Black Money.
Microphone.
Next
I'll go along
question.
with
The result is Black Money.
Hey.
Been a fan since the 80s. My question is, when releasing a new album, how do you go about choosing the first single? Because I know there's 4 different opinions, and then the producers and record label. So how do you decide what the first single?
There's only one
Who
opinion
shouts
in this
loudest?
band.
I think it's kind of almost obvious sometimes what should be the first single. I mean, it kind of almost makes its own decision.
It chooses itself.
But also, I think now with the kind of pop climate being the way it is, I mean, a band like Culture Club isn't going to get radio play. We're not going to get the sort of radio play that, say, Taylor Swift would get or Justin Bieber would get. So, we have to kind of, one of the reasons why we delayed the record is because we want to make sure that we have a kind of social presence, in order for it not to just kind of be a waste of time. If we were guaranteed, airplay, it'd be amazing. I mean, one very big journalist in the UK, when we released More Than Silence, said this record would be number 1 if a band like Culture Club were allowed to have hits. But, rather than kind of moaning about how things are, what you've got to do is create a platform, and use social networking, all of that stuff. But just make sure that, you've got enough presence so the record comes out and people know about it. I mean, I would love to do what you two did and, have it delivered to your iPhones, I mean, that would be such an
Whether you want it or not.
Well, the thing is, I actually was really happy to get that U2 album. I wasn't disappointed. I love free stuff. Nothing tastes better than free. I mean, why? Because I think it's a smart thing to do. It's just a shame that only certain bands have the power to do that. But I think it would be amazing to inflict our sound on everyone. You're getting it for Christmas. It'd be great.
Maybe AOL could help.
I think when a band isn't getting on, when you've obviously got, and I think there are 2 obvious singles on the album, and really obvious for first single. And I think that if we didn't agree on that, there would be a serious problem. I mean, that tends to be the one thing we normally agree on. When we weren't getting on, we didn't agree on anything.
What George said earlier is right. The single always, it presents itself. It just prods out from the rest.
But as George would tell you, of course, we were all completely wrong about Do You Really Want to Hurt Me? We all went, what? You said yes?
Yes.
John's the genius. You picked the next single.
I was in the studio and I went, that's it.
Yeah.
He looked at me.
Yeah.
But it's a very different time now, so, we could write Bohemian Rhapsody and it wouldn't get played on the radio. I think those days, you're not really going to hear those type of songs anymore, like Ain't Nobody, I wonder, it'd be interesting in 20 years to see which songs from now you're singing along to, because there's a lot of artists out there who are huge, but I couldn't sing you one of their songs. If you paid me $10,000, I'd be like, I know who they are, I know that they look great, and I know they can sing and all of that, but I don't know any of their songs.
I think Bitch Better Have My Money probably won't be being played in 20 years,
Well,
Hold on.
I love Rihanna.
I love her too, but that song's not timeless.
I don't know. I heard a song, actually, an old jazz song recently called Your Cash is Trash. And I was like, well, it's the kind of original of that. Your cash is trash. Same song, just different groove. I mean, I actually think that, Rihanna, she's just got the funk, isn't she? She could just turn up in a sort of pair of green tights and a fur coat, and she just works it. So I think you're wrong there.
I'm not wrong about the song.
Like you'd say no.
I'm not wrong about the song. I'm definitely not wrong about the song. I guarantee that won't be being played in 20 years.
But I always
Even next
say
year, actually.
she's put in these clothes by Gucci or whomever, and I feel like you never had a stylist dressing
No, I do have a stylist. I do have a stylist. He's at the back of the room. But
Some would
Back
say
in the
you
day.
can tell,
I
darling.
think, you know what? I think it's it's a different time now. When we started out, there weren't stylists, but then people, there were people that did my makeup and people that made suggestions. The thing about first of all, styling and makeup, you're giving queens jobs, okay? Let's just remember, you're keeping gay people employed. And that is one of the most important things.
Yeah, that's why we do it.
the great thing about success is you have all these queens around you going, oh, let's do your hair, you know. It's gorge. Trust me, it's gorge.
Do you have another question? Somebody has the mic.
Congratulations for getting back together.
Thank you. Really, thank you.
Yes, and you make such great music. There are some ballads that are amazing. My question is, you seem to have more appreciation, and you're happier. How does your Buddhist practice really help you? I'm a Buddhist too.
Are you a Nichiren Buddhist?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I literally this morning jumped out of the shower, did my gongyo this morning, and I think it really, really helps me. I mean, I think, interestingly, I practiced in the 80s, and, for me, I never really got fully involved then. And then when I got sober 7 years ago, I felt that... I just felt that, I was kind of really happy, but I felt something was missing, and so I went back to my Nichiren practice. And, I just feel for me, first of all, I use it a lot to say thank you for all the amazing things that are happening in my life, and to drive those things as well. I mean, the thing is that Nichiren Buddhism is about happiness now. It's about focusing on joy and happiness. And certainly in the last 10 years, I discovered to my amazement that you can actually invest in happiness, and the practice is very helpful for that. And I would like to shakabuka all of you. But try it, it works. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for all of the music over the years. I think that I speak on behalf of everyone. It's so important to us, and we love it, so thank you. We're all looking forward to more.
Thank you.
Hey.
Piggybacking off of the last question, George, I wanted to know, obviously your spirituality has been really important to you. It's influenced your music. I remember it years ago, and obviously in Taboo, it's featured there, and then also in This Is What I Do. So I'm wondering, in terms of your spirituality, how much of that is coming from in the Tribes record, and are you influencing your bandmates?
Well, I mean, everybody has that. I've never really talked about their faith, with them, but there's always, for me, spirituality is a kind of question, I feel like it's something that you do, not something you say you are. I'm always suspicious of anyone who says, I'm spiritual. I mean, the Dalai Lama doesn't go around saying, I'm spiritual. And I'm sure Mother Teresa didn't do that either. I think it's a doing thing, a bit like love. Love is a doing thing. It's a verb. It's an action. So I think that, and in a funny sort of way, a lot of the things that I put in songs about spirituality are kind of questions, really. Because one of the best things I ever read was, to argue there isn't a God is as ridiculous to argue there is one. I mean, because it's unprovable. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's where faith comes into practice. And, everybody has a different idea of what faith is, just in the same way that everybody has a different idea of what love is. If we all said, okay, what's love? We'd all pretty much come up with something different. So you have to kind of, you have to be open to everything. And I'm not too concerned about your faith. But what is it?
George, can I say something? There's one thing that I read a long time ago, which has carried me through my life, and I think it goes through all stages of your life, and it says the difference between a flower and a weed is a judgment. And if you think about that very carefully, that takes you through your life.
It's very Buddhist.
You'll be going, yes, in about 2 hours. Okay?
One more question.
Hey guys, it's great to see you all. Your music is absolutely amazing, and two of my favorite albums are Waking Up with the House on Fire and From Luxury to Heartache. But my question is, of the new artists that are out now, who do you think can or could possibly achieve the level of success that you have right now?
Well, I think I think I was saying the other day, I think there's a couple of this funny little island off the coast of Europe where we come from seems to have this amazing sort of creativity when you're growing up. The guy who wrote the review of us over the weekend said something about fighting to not end up in a factory job, that we sit and create music. And I think we're seeing that a little bit now. And I think likes of Sam Smith and Adele are really quality artists. I personally love some of the bands out of the 90s. Radiohead, I think, were fantastic, and I think their albums are going to be around. And Amy Winehouse, I think she would have gone on and been an amazing artist as well. So, you know, it's interesting. And a lot of, you know, I like to think we've had a bit of influence on some of these artists as well, you know, which is quite interesting.
Personally, I love artists that try to push the boundaries of a genre backwards, you know, and try to expand the boundaries of a genre, like we did when we were kids. And to that effect, I kind of like what Kanye does. I mean, you know, Obama did call him a jackass, but I think the guy is very, very, you know, he's great. He's a genius.
It's like a backhanded compliment, isn't it?
I'll tell you something. One thing that's very encouraging is that one thing that has disappeared is the idea of the band, a group, not necessarily a pop group, but just a band, like a guitar band. And in London, there's a big underground scene now of sort of young, not jangly sort of indie bands, but actually sort of rock bands that write accessible music, if you like. A couple of bands, there's Wolf Alice, The Auditors. I mean, there's quite a few, and they have huge followings, but nobody's heard of them. But they do, you know, they do sell songs on.
We're kind of back in this era.
They're there. They're coming.
I think the key to making new music is mixing the genres and pushing the boundaries back and always creating something new. It's what we did when we were kids, and that's what will always be.
I think the obstacles are very different now. You know, I mean, I think back when we started, you know, records had a longer life. You know, a record go in the UK or even in America, a record could go in at 103. 99, and it could slowly grow over a period of time. And that's why we have such great relationships with a lot of those classic songs, because they were part of our lives. What happens now is that a record, you turn channels, it's the same record over and over for about a month, and it's like, oh my God, I don't want to hear that song again. And it's just a very different kind of, you know, different kind of journey now for a record. You know, records live and die very quickly. You know, they have very short lifespans. But then, you know, you have your kind of hardcore fans, people that literally know what you're going to do before you know what you're going to do. You know, it's amazing. Like,
very scary.
There's a few at the back there. Where you go, what am I doing tomorrow? Okay, you know. But I think that, you know, that's what you got to rely on, and that's why live is very, very essential for a band like us, because, you know, live you can only be who you are. Nobody else can be you. Nobody else can... You know, online, there are hundreds of Boy Georges. There are loads of accounts on Twitter with my name. Can't even get my name back on Facebook because someone's nicked it. But, you know, live, nobody else...
Again, same with me.
You know, live, you know, you're only ever yourself, and it's a great place to kind of be authentic. And I think that's the magic of... Thank God that we can play live, you know. I mean, that's the joy of that, you know, and you're bringing your... kind of, you know, your special qualities to a live arena. It's magical.
It is magical.
George, before we go, I just wanted to ask you about this little reality show that you're doing. If anyone was ever born to do a reality show, I would think it would be you. Can you tell us what to expect and when it might come on?
It's one of those weird things that, you know, until you start doing a show like this, you don't really know what it's going to be, because, you know, like, you can have an idea about what you want to say. I mean, I hope that I do enough, you know, just normally to be interesting. I don't really want it to be fake. I don't want to set up scenarios. I think I'm kind of mental enough to kind of just carry it, you know, and we'll see. You know, it's just one of those things. But until you actually start doing it, we've done a little bit of filming in the last week, which was really fun. The trick is to kind of forget that the cameras are there. Once you do that, it's genius. And yeah, as I say, I did the great thing with Caitlyn, and I hang out with all of her crew, with Candace Kane and all the people that are part of Caitlyn's show, and we had a brilliant time. And I don't know. I hope I'm exciting enough to carry it off. You know?
Will these guys be on
You'll
the show
let me know.
too?
Yeah, but only
we're in negotiations.
We're thinking about it.
They're doing their own show.
We're thinking about it.
It's a reality show. We won't be on it.
All I can tell you is if they'd filmed the last year, it would be a #1 show, because there's been some crazy moments.
Oh yeah, by the way, I'd just like to say the chap who congratulated us on getting back together, you have no idea what we've been through in trying to get this back together.
Mike is in talks with his lawyer about being in my show.
We really do deserve that. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
It's a miracle.
Right, I've had enough. I'm going.
Don't forget to vote for me, DJ Top 100.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mikey Craig.
Thank you.
John Moss. Roy Hay. Boy George. Don't we love them?
Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.